In Augmented, there is a collection of materials that can be applied to objects in the model. Materials can affect aspects of an object's appearance, such as color, texture, and reflectivity. Augmented materials are referenced data, meaning any edits to a material will be reflected across all objects that have applied that material. There is a library of stock materials built in, and you can also upload your own custom materials. Let's go ahead and open up the editor in our Augmented window. And I'm going to drop in a couple of stock objects to which we can apply some materials. So I'll just grab some 3D shapes here. I'll get a cylinder. And I'm going to zoom in to where I can see that a little better. I'm going to snap it to the ground plane. I'm going to stretch it out using my scale tool so I have more surface area to see. And then I'm going to duplicate it using Control-D on my keyboard. Switch to my Move tool, and I'm going to Control-D one more time so I have 3 separate cylinders here. To access our materials, let's open up the Materials library. So I'm going to go to my Window, pop down, and click Materials, which is going to add a tab at the bottom of my library between my main library and my Materials library. So you can switch between those down here at the bottom. Here we'll have the stock library of materials, which is split into colors, textures, and truss. Let's start simply with just a color. So I'm going to open up my colors stock library here. I'm going to grab yellow, I'm going to click and hold. And as I hover over objects in the model, it's going to give me a preview of what that will look like applied to each one. And then when I let go, we'll do it on this cylinder, it will apply the material to that object. For the next cylinder, I'm going to apply metal blue. I'm just going to drag that over there. And for the third cylinder, I'm going to use wood. We'll drop that right there. I'm going to select my yellow cylinder, and you'll see in the inspector, I now have a materials line here. It's telling me the description, which is yellow, and I have this box, which I can click. In here, I can replace the material. So I could also drag a new material onto the object, or I can come over here, click on yellow, and change that to, say, cyan. I can either revert here or click the checkbox to apply. I'll go ahead and do that. Let's pause here for a minute to see what these materials look like under light. I'm going to click Done and save my changes. And I'm here in live, so I'm going to turn on channel 101 to full, and I'm going to click to focus that light. Let me turn down my ambient lighting settings just for a moment so we can see a little better. I'm also going to increase my graphics quality for this example. I'm going to put that on ultra and realistic. So now as I click to focus and drag that lighting fixture around, we can see the different reflectivity and color options with our various materials. Let's turn that light off and go back into our editor. While we're working in the editor, I'm going to put my ambient light back to medium just so we can see a little bit easier. Let's add another material. I'm going to go down to the textures section of the library. And under tile and marble, I'm going to choose tiles checkered. And we can look at what that might look like applied to different objects. And I'm going to go ahead and apply it to our ground. I'm going to zoom out a bit so we can see some more here. Also, if you're searching for a material, you can use the search box here at the top. So if I type in wood, for example, it's going to show me everything with the word wood in it. Let's look at how we can edit some materials. So I'm going to reselect our tiles checkered. And below the library, you'll see we have some fields here. Now, since this is a stock material, I am unable to edit it. However, I can duplicate the material and edit the duplicate. So let's look at how to do that. I'm going to click the duplicate button here. And you'll see that it creates a copy, which is not in a folder. It's down here at the bottom outside of the folder structure. And I'm actually going to apply this copy to the floor. So now I can watch my edits happen in real time. The first field we can change is the base color. So we've got several options here. We can make it red, we can make it blue. In order to look at the next properties of the material, let's go ahead and turn a light back on. So I'm going to exit the editor, and I'll turn on channel 101 again, and we'll kind of point that here. I've got it zoomed out a bit, and I'll sharpen my edge. And I also want to change my camera position so I can see the light reflecting back at me. All right, so we will open the editor back up here. And the reflectivity properties we have are metallic and smoothness. They both range from 0 to 1. I can type in a value, or like I can with size and scale, I can click and drag this arrow here to go from less metallic to more, which is going to be more reflective. I can also do this with smoothness. And you can see how that affects the viewing of the floor there. Next, let's look at the rotation of the material. For this, I'm going to zoom out a bit so we can see more of our floor. So just like the other properties, I can type in a number. So I could type in, say, 45, and I'm going to rotate that material by 45 degrees. I can also click and drag and watch it rotate. I also have 90-degree shortcut buttons, as well as mirror left-right and mirror up-down. For now, I'm going to leave this at 45 degrees. Next, I have alignment on my X and Y axes. This is going to determine where the material starts at the edge of the object. So you see, I can slide this on the X axis or on the Y axis and decide exactly where those tiles are going to start. I also have repeat X and Y. Let's take a look at repeating X. I'm going to add more tiles that direction. And Y is going to repeat the pattern in that direction. For today, I want these to be set to an X of 5 and a Y back to 1. That'll give me kind of a nice elongated pattern there. I'm going to rotate my camera around so I can see the cube a little bit better. And I'm going to apply the same checkered tiles pattern that we've been working on to the cube. Let's change the rotate back to 0. And notice that it changed the cube and the floor. Remember, materials are referenced, so every object that we've applied a material to is going to be affected by any changes we make to that material. Let's move my camera over here. Notice that that material was only applied to one side of the cube. If I select the cube and look in the inspector, I'm going to click on the material icon right here. And you'll see that the cube is made up of 6 sides, or specifically sub-objects. Several of the stock objects are made up of 2 or more sub-objects, and they can each have a material applied to them independently. If I want to apply material to all the sub-objects of an object, I can drag the material onto the object itself in the hierarchy, and it will do that for me there. That's just a shortcut to apply a material to all parts of an object. From here, if I want to change one side, we'll say this first one, I can select it and I can change its color, for example. We're looking at the top face of the cube here. I can change its material to something else. I can even change its rotation or alignment just on this sub-object. So for example, if I only wanted the top of the cube to have a rotation of 45, we could do that. I'm going to click accept and save that there to the cube. Looking back in our materials library, we have a few organizational tools. So I have the ability to add a folder here, and that's going to appear down at the bottom. And I can rename that folder. We're going to call that Custom Materials. And now I'm going to drag my custom tiles into that folder. And I can now expand that folder and see my custom materials there. If I want to rename a material, I can simply click on it and edit the name here. We'll call this Blue Tiles. Let's look at how to import custom materials into our library. I'm going to go up to File, Import to Library, and Import Materials. Select that drive, find a folder, and I'm going to import this PNG file. And in the library, it will just appear at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and drag that into our custom materials folder as well. That PNG file is from our training materials. On our website, we also have a large library of assets available to download. In addition to extra materials assets, we also have more pixel map content and icon libraries on the website. So be sure to check those out. All of those materials have been tested on EOS and are free to download and use in your show files. I'll go ahead and bring in some bricks that I downloaded from our website earlier onto my thumb drive. To select my bricks folder, I have several options here. I'm going to choose bricks brown number 1. And you'll see that those are put in a folder down here at the bottom. I'm going to move those into my custom folder. I'll go ahead and drag my brown bricks onto one side of my cube here, just to show those. Note that custom materials must be applied to an object in order to be saved with the show file. Custom materials that are not applied are shown in a darker colored text and will be deleted when Augmented is shut down. Notice that my arrow.png file is grayed out a little bit, and that's an example of a material that will not be saved in the show file since we never applied it to an object. In addition to bringing in textures for scenic objects, you could also use custom materials to bring in images of backdrops or text as part of scenic designs. Let's go ahead and go back out into Live. I'm going to click Done and Accept. And let's take a look at shining our light on all of these new materials and objects. Again, I'm going to reduce my ambient light and shine that channel 101 around my stage. The last thing I need to do today is get rid of these cylinders. So as a reminder, to delete an object, you can select it and press your delete key, or right click it in the hierarchy and say delete. I'm going to confirm those, and we're going to leave it like that for today. Materials are a great way to add a bit more realism and depth to your models.